Players need coaches, as you know, but what happens when coaches need coaches, especially if they have anger management issues? Well, they call NFL legend Ray Lewis, whose new show is called Coaching Bad.
There's a bottom line word that I want all of us to pay attention to. The word dictator. Sometimes you got to be careful with being a dictator because you crush people for the rest of their lives. That's the issue we got. If somebody stood over top of you and just stop, what do you do then?
What do you do then?
It's a fine line.
All right, there's the man, Mr. Ray Lewis. Good to see you, Ray. Thank you for being with us. These people listening to you, when you stood over there and told them what not to do, I think you were intimidating them by what you were doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't, I'm seriously, I wouldn't even call it an intimidation factor. I would call it, sometimes there's a harsh reality, right? When people can dish out something, but it's different when you receive, something that you've really never felt yourself. And I think when you get into a bunch of these coaches, the way that they treat people, the way that they were speaking to kids and treating their families, man, it's a rare thing when you have to feel it back yourself.
Well, there is a fine line between that. I mean, I grew up playing basketball with coaches who I still can't stand because there is a fine line between that tough love and constructive criticism and abuse.
And a power trip.
And a power trip.
I gotta get the results out of these kids. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and see, and you know what's funny? That's where I think coaches take it way too far, right? And so what the show I think is really going to show is a bunch of these coaches, the issues that they're really having, it's really not the kids' issues. It's issues that they're having from past experiences. So the coaches that you're speaking about, I would really want to know, what in his or her past that they had to deal with that they never dealt with. When I got into some of these coaches' issues, what I learned the most about each one of these coaches is the reason that they were treating people a certain way is because of the way somebody treated them when they were coming up. And we all, trust me, I've had many of coaches, and the one respect I've always asked for as a coach is treat me like I'm your child. Because if you treat me like I'm your child, then you're going to speak to me a certain way. And when I got to a certain level, then I got to the point of saying, treat me like a man. You don't have to yell at me to get the point across. You can talk to me and help me understand it. And so that's what the whole show is really about. So it's really going to expose relationships on how people really should communicate with each other.
All right, Ray, speaking of shows, big show Sunday. The big show is Sunday. We have an issue going on that you have weighed in on, and that is Deflategate. Nobody ever talked before about footballs and being deflated. We want the Ray Lewis take on what's happening here.
There's no more, what's happening no more, man. It's an issue that, I've said this before, and, I leave it where it is. I said, if this is true, and I don't shy away from that. If this is true, this is a sad day for sports, period. If it's true. If it's not true, then guess what? Somebody just fabricated a story, and then we just went down a path that we should have never went down. But if it is true, we're at a bad place in sports to be watching a Super Bowl that's tainted some type of way. So with that being said, man, I always speak, from my heart on most things. But the bottom line is, the issue is what it is. Obviously, it's not that important because the game is still being played. So we have to move on very quickly.
Well, we've heard from some former players say that, they did this themselves. They would, stick a needle into the ball right before the game. They would keep a needle in their wristband or whatever. So some are saying this is common, this is done, and others saying, no, I've never done it. So who do you believe? What did you experience when you were playing?
So my job was actually jarring the ball loose. So I actually wasn't holding the balls, but I touched enough footballs, and I didn't have enough experience with any of that, the pressure of the ball and understanding none of that. So, I would be I would be totally ignorant to even speak
All right, but
speak on that. 'cause
final thing, Ray,
I never touched balls that many times.
Final thing, if it is true, and you mentioned if it is true, what should the consequence be?
I don't know what the consequences are going to be. I'm just telling you. I know honestly we're at a bad place. If in sports, if this is true, man, this is one of the things that you never want to be found doing. Not in this game. Not in this game, because this game is built from integrity. And when you understand, you know, the things that people go through just to prepare for a game. And once again, if this is true, to rob them of that preparation, to rob them of that sacrifice, that can be really, really harsh if this comes out to be true.
All right, Ray Lewis, Coaching Bad premieres a week from Sunday on Spike TV. Thank you,
Thanks
Ray.
a lot.